Hey guys, what is going on? It's your man Boris with Texas Basketball Scouts. Wanted to welcome you to another episode of the Weekend Recap. Today is Sunday, December 31st. This is the last episode of the year 2023 because after today, we go into the new year. With that being said, I hope everyone had a successful 2023 and I hope that 2024 is even better for you and for myself too. Even though 2023 was good, you always want to be doing better. So happy New Year, happy holidays to everyone, all my basketball players, friends, family. Hope you have a great year and happy holidays. But what we're going to do for this episode, real quick, is I just want to recap a couple of the games that I saw this past week and then also talk about some of the upcoming games. Just to kind of recap some of the games that I saw last week, I saw Johnson versus Clark, and I saw not Madison, I saw Jefferson versus MacArthur. And also, I created some highlights for Clark versus Johnson, and I think when I first posted them, I accidentally messed up the team name, and I put that it was the highlights versus MacArthur. My bad. I didn't notice it till the morning, and I had to make a change. So for anybody that noticed that, my bad. That's what happens when you make posts late, when you're tired and stuff like that. But anyways, getting back to it, the first game, Clark versus Johnson. That was a great game. It was actually kind of low scoring. I think the final score for that game was 44-41. Clark won that game. That game went into overtime. At the end of regulation, it was only 36-36. So kind of weird because it was a low scoring game and there was a lot of like good players out there. You know, Johnson has at least 4 or 5 good players and Clark has, 5+ good players. And, for the score to be that low was kind of interesting, but still was a good game, I guess, defensively and everything. Um, some of the standout players for Clark, you always have your top performers. You have Jaden Flemings, you have Christian out there. You have Dom Guetta out there, and then you have Aiden Bolden. You also have Connor out there as well, helping out. So Clark has a real good squad. It was fun to see Johnson play again. It was really good to see Daryl Banks. I would probably say that's probably one of the top prospects in the city of San Antonio right now. Coaches, if you haven't seen Daryl Banks, he's like a 6'6" player over at Johnson. Um, and he's very versatile and he gets things done. He has a motor and he plays hard. So he's definitely a player to look at. That goes to say that and when I say this, just because a player is 6'6" or 6'7" or 6'8", that doesn't mean that they're a good player. Because like you can be tall and if you are not strong, if you get pushed over in the paint, like that don't mean it. So excuse my language. But anyways, just because you're tall, you still got to perform. And I think that Daryl is one of those players where he's 6'6", but he also performs. So he's definitely worth taking a look at. And some of the other bigs out there, take a lesson from Daryl on how to be tough and strong if you're a big player. But anyways, Clark versus Johnson. That was a very good game. Going back to that game, Aiden Bolden hit a game tying putback layup to tie the game and send it into overtime, and then Clark was able to just take over in overtime and pull out the win on that. But good game to see. Got to see a lot of really good players. A lot of those players are on the San Antonio player watch list. That's also posted on Texas Basketball Scouts, tbscouts.com. So check that out. Um, the other game that I saw was Jefferson versus MacArthur. Honestly, that game was like kind of a blowout. Jefferson beat MacArthur pretty bad. Jefferson has several really solid players. They have Trey Perez, who is a guard that can kind of do it all. They have Adrian Reyna. Adrian AJ, he's another really good player. For those of you who may not know that much about him, he's like 6'6", 6'7", and he has a block party every game. One thing that I'll say about AJ Reyna, for him being 6'6", 6'7", he's probably one of the better defenders that I've seen in the city. And that even going back, like I just mentioned Daryl Banks, who's 6'6" over at Johnson, but I think AJ might even be a better defender from what I've seen. Now, granted, they play different teams and different competition, but AJ like usually gets like at least 5 blocks a game. He's a heck of a defender, and he also gets buckets. He can shoot threes and make layups and score. So any coaches that's looking for a player that might be a little bit under the radar, check out AJ Reyna over at Jefferson. And then some of the other players at Jefferson that I always like to see, Nico Vela. He's another guard that they have there, and Nico he's just a dog, man. He plays with so much heart, so much grit. And he just wants it. And he's serious about the game. So I like watching Nico play, and he's athletic too. And then also Amante Carter. Always fun seeing Amante play over at Jefferson. I know he's probably primarily like a football player, but it was fun seeing him. It's always fun watching him play basketball too, and he's solid player. I did notice in one of their games, it was kind of funny, talking about Amante with him being a football player and having that strong, solid frame. At the game versus MacArthur, I noticed one of the plays he got an and one. So he was going up for a layup. He made the layup, but Amante was so strong, he did a little football move on that dude going up, and the guy went flying, but the ref called the foul on the defender for a block. But it's just kind of funny when you see football players in there. You could tell when they kind of bully some of those other players in there. But Monte, always good seeing you play, man. That's going to basically wrap up the games that I saw. Right now, just kind of going over some, I guess, kind of recapping some other games. I didn't necessarily see all these games, but these are some of the recent games that took place and some of the scores. So we had Clark versus Johnson. Clark won that one 44-41. We had Lee versus Marshall. Lee beat Marshall. That was 74-61. Lee won. Another big one, a big upset you could maybe call it. Madison beat Reagan, 51-46. Madison is a good team. I know they have a really good player, Caden, that plays for Madison, and they got a good squad. So definitely not trying to underplay Madison. But we know that Reagan is a very good team. They got a very well coached team, and they're a very strong team. So it was kind of interesting to see that Madison pulled off that dub. And I like both teams, so I don't really want to say one over the other, but it was kind of interesting to see that how that game ended up. And then lastly, we have Churchill versus Brandeis. Churchill won that game 61-58. I haven't seen Churchill much. Actually, I haven't really seen them at all this season yet. But I'll get a chance to see them this week when they play against Clark. So I'll be able to take a look at Churchill, evaluate some of their players, and maybe add some of their players to the Texas Basketball Scouts San Antonio player watch list as well. Before we talk about the games that's coming up for the next week, I just want to kind of recap some of the basketball standings or rankings. I recently made a post where, kind of showing the rankings of the current teams based on their record. And this was just for 6A Region 4, District 28, which only has, in that district, in that region, in that district, there's only 9 teams. So that don't get confused and think that is the rankings or standings for all of the North Side teams or any ISD or anything like that. No, that's just specifically for Region 4, District 28, and there's only 9 teams in that district. So going down the list in order from first place to last, again, this is for 6A Region 4, District 28. In first place, we got Clark with a record of, we'll just use the district. I'm just going to use district numbers. I'm not going to use, non-district play. So this is just district numbers. We have Clark in first place at 5-0. We have Lee coming up next at 4-1. In third place, we got Churchill at 3-1. Fourth place, we got Madison at 3-2. Next up is Johnson at 2-2. Followed by Brandeis, that's 2-3. Reagan is followed up next at 1-3. Roosevelt is at 0-4, and we got Marshall at 0-4 as well. So again, just kind of going down the rankings, we got Clark, Lee, Churchill, Madison, Johnson, Brandeis, Reagan, Roosevelt, and then Marshall. Just kind of as I go down that list, just to give a couple shout outs to some of the players. At Marshall, coaches, make sure you take a look at Eric Goodman. He's like a 6'1" point guard that is, really versatile, good player. Over at Roosevelt, quite a lineup over there. Take a look at my guy Carmelo Martinez. We got Shai Makrajani over there. Some other players too. That Roosevelt, the whole Roosevelt clique is cool. So check them out. Reagan. There's Kenneth Manuel and Aiden Richard. And Johnson. We got Daryl Banks. Maxwell Doctor. Mark Anthony. Ian Rizzo. At Madison, there's Caden. And then at Clark, you have Jaden Flemings, Christian Bergen, Dom Guetta, Aiden Bolden, Connor Dilla, Luke Lopez, some other good players as well. Clark has a really good squad, so check them out. Well, that's going to pretty much wrap it up. Let's just finish it up with some upcoming games. So these are the upcoming games this week for Tuesday, January 2nd. So right after the brand new year, the first games of the fresh 2024 year. This is the lineup games for Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. On Tuesday at 5 p.m., we have Roosevelt versus Brandeis. At 6:30, we have Madison versus Marshall. At 7:30, we have Johnson versus Reagan. And the prime time event at 8 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday, January 2nd, we're going to have Churchill versus Clark. I believe they're playing at the Paul Taylor Fieldhouse. So that'd be a good one to go and check out and see those Clark guys in action. But as always, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting Texas Basketball Scouts. If you haven't already, make sure that you go to the website, tbscouts.com, go to the blog, and check out the San Antonio player watch list, where I try to go in and update any type of players within the city that I think deserve some recognition and can potentially, help a college coach out. These are all scholarship, potentially scholarship level players. I'll let you college coaches make that decision, but I made a list of all the players that I think, are good enough to play in college. So check that out. Like I was saying before, thank you for all the support. If you haven't already, make sure that you follow us and subscribe on all the different social media channels, and even on the website, tbscouts.com. You can subscribe to that website. It's completely free to subscribe, and what you'll get from that is anytime that I make a post on the blog or anything like that, it'll send you an email directly with the update. Doesn't cost anything, and it's just pure information. So make sure that you subscribe to the TB Scouts website. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you very much. Appreciate all the support and all the love. Y'all take care. And until next time, peace.